brought to you by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis. This edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on electrification and battery technology in weeks 46 and 47. Frennis supports automotive enterprises and consultancies with market and competitive intelligence, so product teams and strategy leaders do have the optimal base for their strategic decisions.
Welcome back. We've got a fascinating stack of source material from the last couple of weeks. And, if there's one big theme, it's this.
What's that?
The whole electrification sector is it's not talking about hypotheticals anymore. We are seeing a really hard pivot from these isolated pilot projects to scalable, commercially viable systems.
And it seems like it's being driven less by flashy new gadgets and more by these critical policy shifts and partnerships.
Exactly.
That's right. I mean, the industry is scaling up fast, but with that scale comes new challenges, right? Regulation, supply chain security. So for you, the listener, we've clustered the top insights into 3 core areas that really define the shift to maturity. First up, we're looking at the enormous infrastructure build-out, specifically how charging networks are trying to solve this crisis of reliability and user experience.
And second, we're going to dedicate some serious time to a massive regulatory breakthrough that is finally unlocking the real commercial potential of vehicle-to-grid, or V2G. That's a huge one.
It's a game changer. And finally, we'll tackle the competitive realities of the battery life cycle. Everything from, overlooked material shortages to the severe pressures that are reshaping European OEM and dealership strategy.
All right, let's jump in.
So, theme 1, charging infrastructure and networks. For heavy-duty transport, the network is moving at a speed that is, it's genuinely impressive. The collaborative approach seems to be winning out.
Oh, absolutely. The momentum in heavy-duty corridors is unmistakable. You can really see it in the build-out pace. David Watts highlighted the progress of Milans.
That's the joint venture, right? Traton, Daimler Truck, and Volvo Group.
That's the one. And they're moving so fast. They already have 30 charging hubs operational across Europe, with 4 more under construction as we speak.
So that's not just a plan on paper.
No, this is operational reality for large-scale logistics right now.
And that kind of infrastructure, it relies on some serious power. We're talking about the Megawatt Charging System, MCS, which is really defining this scale-up.
Right, and Michael Keller noted that the progress being driven by Sharon is extending way beyond just highway stops. They're standardizing these ruggedized solutions for heavy industries.
Like what?
Like mining all trucks. And even standardized marine shore power. It's really about standardizing industrial-level energy transfer.
It's a huge sign of institutional confidence when you look at the financing behind it.
For sure. Thomas Makela shared that Plug-in Finland secured substantial support from the CFF.
Okay, for listeners who might not track those acronyms daily, can you break that down?
Yeah, that's the EU's Connecting Europe facility and the Alternative Fuels Infrastructure facility. It's basically the mechanism designed to push these huge public infrastructure projects into reality.
And securing that kind of funding for 16 public MCS locations.
It just underscores the definitive shift from, national pilots to continent-wide execution.
This expansion brings us straight to the user experience, which is still the main battleground.
Oh, absolutely. Tadas Ratkovicius brought up a great comparison on charging costs. He pointed out that while fast charging in some mature markets like Italy can get, frustratingly close to €1 per kilowatt hour.
Which is a lot.
A lot. Meanwhile, Lithuania stands out with these really affordable, stable rates, around 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour. That price volatility across borders is still a huge headache.
And then there's the physical user experience, the frustration of ICing when a combustion engine car blocks an EV spot.
Right. Bill Pierce cited the adoption of automated solutions to fight that. Companies like Pogo in the UK are using ANPR, automatic number plate recognition.
So camera systems that just automatically detect and find violators.
Exactly. We saw similar laws passed recently in U.S. states like New Jersey. Automation is really seen as the only way to enforce it at scale.
I want to dig into the access point for a moment because partnerships seem to be the fastest way to improve convenience.
They are. Diane Coley shared that Edenred, a major fleet solution provider, is integrating the Tesla supercharger network.
Wow. Okay, so that immediately gives their corporate users access to, 20,000 superchargers across Europe?
20,000 plus.
Yeah.
It just massively strengthens the viability of corporate EV fleets overnight.
But convenience doesn't mean a thing if the charger doesn't actually work.
And that is the core problem. Carlota Ochoa and Evan Dumont highlighted a staggering pain point. Sources show that up to 23% of chargers in the field are non-functional. 21% of all charging attempts fail.
That level of unreliability just destroys consumer trust. It's the ultimate barrier. But wait, why is the hardware failing so much? Are these physical breakdowns, or is it a software issue?
The sources strongly suggest it's the latter. It's the sheer complexity of integrating all this diverse software and the payment protocols across different manufacturers.
I see. So that's why we're seeing this surge of investment into software solutions that can simplify the chaos.
Exactly. The investment in ECOG's Universal Core OS, for example, is aimed squarely at achieving nearly 99% uptime by basically standardizing the operating system of the charger itself.
So the focus is shifting. It's not just about building more ports, it's about making the existing ones smarter and way more reliable.
Precisely. And the data analytics are getting surgical. Javier Menendez described Monta's AI-powered Network Operations Center agent. It can solve certain operational tasks in 30 seconds that used to take hours of manual diagnostics.
That's the shift, from reactive maintenance to real operational intelligence.
That's what you need for commercial scale.
And before we transition, there's a quick but crucial security footnote from Kyle Bolto. The QR code payments, while super user-friendly, have created a fraud risk. Criminals are covering original codes with their own.
I've seen that.
So Europe is responding. New regulations are coming that require dynamic QR codes on integrated screens by 2026. It just shows how fast the whole ecosystem has to mature.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, let's pivot to theme 2. Energy and grid integration. This is where policy isn't just supporting adoption, it's really defining commercial viability. We're talking about bidirectional charging, V2G.
And the game-changing policy wins that just came out of Germany.
Tell us about that.
The German legislative breakthrough is, I would argue, the most important development in the last 2 weeks for V2G. Mark Muller and Daniela Mose detailed the crucial obstacle that's finally been removed.
Which was?
The abolition of double grid fees and double taxation for stored energy.
Okay, I want to stop there for a moment because for our listeners, that might sound like bureaucratic jargon, but this was the single biggest reason V2G was dead on arrival commercially. Explain what that double taxation actually meant.
Certainly. So before this change, if you drew electricity from the grid to charge your car, you paid taxes and fees on that energy. Simple enough. But then, if you later sold that same stored energy back to the grid during a peak demand event, which is the whole point of V2G, you were taxed and charged grid fees again on the energy you sold back.
So you were being taxed twice on the exact same unit of energy.
Precisely, which made the economics completely impossible. It meant V2G was just stuck in what Eugen Filipenko-Siebert called pilot project purgatory.
And this new rule changes everything.
It changes everything. It treats EVs like large mobile batteries, removes that punitive double burden, and instantly makes V2G a profitable model.
And now we can talk about the real economic potential this unlocks, which is just massive. Marcus Grote shared details on the upcoming BMW and E.ON partnership in Germany.
What are they aiming for?
They're aiming to enable the equivalent of up to 14,000 kilometers of free driving per year for the driver, just through smart energy use and V2G revenue.
Wow, that fundamentally transforms the total cost of ownership. The car moves from being a liability to an asset. And we saw a similar high-impact partnership in Sweden. Volvo and Vattenfall are offering a year of free home, charging up to about 5,150 kilowatt hours.
No.
Martin Salomon calculated that's about 25,000 kilometers of free driving.
The incentive structure is becoming overwhelmingly attractive.
It is. And the system-wide benefits are even bigger than the individual ones. Tanya Suarez highlighted the scale we're talking about. If 10 million EVs were V2G capable, they could offer 100 gigawatts of power and 600 gigawatt hours of capacity to the grid.
Okay, that 100 gigawatt figure is staggering. Put that into perspective for us.
Well, as Giovanni Palazzo and Maximilian Wilshels emphasize, that amount of decentralized flexibility just dwarfs Germany's entire existing pumped hydro storage capacity.
Which is what, about 7 gigawatts?
About 7 gigawatts and 40 gigawatt hours. So this flexible capacity is absolutely crucial for grid stability, especially as we add more intermittent renewables like wind and solar.
And this isn't just a European thing. V2G is moving beyond pilots globally.
That's right. So Hal Hasney confirmed that bidirectional charging is now commercially available in markets like Australia for V2G, V2H, and for home backup.
And the tech is keeping pace.
It is. Christian Sevdari presented research showing the V2G response time, how fast the car can feed power back to the grid, is dropping from a 4 to 6 second delay down to just 1 or 2 seconds.
And that speed is critical for participating in the reserve electricity markets.
It's vital. And standardization efforts, which Rishab Goje noted, like the IEA Task 53, are working toward global interoperability to make this truly scalable.
Okay, let's move to our final theme: battery technology, life cycle, and competition. Let's start with circularity and the materials challenge. It's a broader issue than just securing lithium and cobalt.
That's right. The dark horse of battery recycling, as Maciej Mikulicz called it, is graphite.
Graphite, most people overlook it.
Completely. But it makes up 12 to 18% of a Li-ion battery by mass. That is more mass than lithium, cobalt, and nickel combined.
And here's the acute supply chain risk. Europe imports something like 99% of its battery-grade graphite.
99%. And the supply chain is heavily concentrated in one nation. That immediately threatens the entire goal of European battery autonomy.
So despite its strategic value, what happens to it in recycling?
Well, that's the problem. Mikulicz noted that recycled graphite often just gets burned or sent to a landfill because recycling processes haven't prioritized it. Its value has been overlooked. It's a critical supply chain blind spot.
That brings up the question of volume. Hans-Eric Mellon projected that by 2030, Europe will have about 37,500 tons of end-of-life EV batteries ready for recycling.
Right, but here's the important point he makes, that volume is still far below our current recycling capacity.
Why is that?
Because, contrary to some early projections, vehicles are just staying on the road longer than expected, and a significant number of them are being exported outside of Europe before they even reach that end-of-life recycling window.
So the recycling industry built up capacity for a turnover rate that the market isn't actually delivering yet.
Exactly.
This material challenge feeds right into the intense competitive pressures facing traditional OEMs. Doran Meyersdorf highlighted a stark warning from Ford's CEO, Jim Farley.
What did he say?
He was talking about Chinese EV makers. He cited their high quality and superior in-car technology and warned they have the capacity to potentially put us all out of business.
That is not corporate hyperbole. That is a very real threat assessment. The cost challenge is undeniable, and it comes directly from manufacturing scale.
Timur Gull highlighted the core issue there.
He did. China is the lowest cost producer and will have produced 6 times the number of batteries the U.S. has by 2024. If you control the cheapest inputs and the largest volume, you dictate the market price.
So innovation becomes the only real mitigation strategy, focusing on software, user experience, solving those pain points faster than the competition.
Right. And this disruption isn't just hitting manufacturing, it's hammering the traditional retail model. Pablo Telleria Basadone detailed how EV penetration is already causing a 20 to 50% decline in traditional after-sales revenue in mature markets.
Like Norway and the Netherlands.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. Fewer moving parts, less service, no oil changes. So what are dealerships doing to survive this shift away from that profitable service bay?
They have to rebuild their entire profitability model around what you could call new engines.
And what are those?
Highly sophisticated services, managing software subscriptions, monetizing charging revenue, offering battery health certificates, and professionalized used EV remarketing. The role of the dealer is fundamentally changing.
From a service shop to more of an energy and life cycle management hub.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And finally, let's just ground this all in the sustainability narrative. Randall Tiny Smith reaffirmed the life cycle math.
Which is so important.
It is. While EVs have a higher initial carbon debt from battery production, that debt gets paid back pretty quickly, around 11,000 miles in Europe. After that, the full life cycle CO2 emissions are roughly 3 times lower than a petrol car.
It confirms that every hurdle we've discussed today, infrastructure, policy, competition, it's all about reaching operational scale. It's not about questioning the underlying necessity of this transition anymore.
So what does this all mean for you, the strategic leader? The past 2 weeks show policy and technology are really converging to create commercially viable charging and grid flexibility solutions. The shift is definitively from demonstration to deployment.
Which demands immediate focus on scaling that heavy-duty infrastructure and capitalizing on these V2G policy wins we're seeing in countries like Germany.
Right.
And we connect this to the bigger picture, considering the vast economic potential that V2G is unlocking and the critical supply chain issues exposed by overlooked materials like graphite. This raises an important question for you to think about.
And that is,
what specific cross-sector collaboration, beyond just the usual automotive and energy players, will be required to ensure Europe retains its competitive edge and achieves material autonomy in the next decade?
if you enjoyed this deep dive, new editions drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on future mobility and market evolution, next-gen vehicle intelligence, and commercial fleet insights.
Thank you for joining us for this analysis.
And remember to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.